People have been complaining for a bit about how Pokemon gym leaders always stick to one type, which means you can basically just use one move over and over again and win the whole fight. Some people have suggested giving gym leaders themes instead of types to make them a lot more diverse and fun. I then realized that all of the Pokemon Scarlet gym leaders have a second job other than being a gym leader, which this is the only game that does that. This means two things. One, Gita is not good at her job. Secondly, it means that they are really easy to get a theme for. You could just base it around their job. And so, in this video, I'm going to give the Scarlet and Violet gym leaders themed teams. But before we begin, every single video, I have the amount of subscribers I have at the time of recording dumped on me in ping pong balls. And since I'm at 207 subscribers, 207 ping pong balls. But anyways, if you're my milestone subscribers like 100, cool YTT, or 200, something or other, you get a ping pong ball with your name on it. Anyway, that was all, and on with the video. For this video, I can pick Pokemon from either DLC or from the base game, because otherwise I would miss out on too many perfect Pokemon. The best place to start is the beginning. First, we have Katy, obviously, the first gym from Cortando. Katy is a baker who works in a patisserie just right next to the Cortando gym. We'll start off with Milcery, a drop of custard, which is just perfect for a baker. I decided to give her a food-themed Pokemon that shows up around Cortando, Smoliv. It isn't a pastry, but it's food-themed, and it's right there. Another food-themed Pokemon that shows up right next to Cortando, and is now Katy's ace, is Fido, with the Terra Bug. All the Terra Pokemon will keep their original Terra typing from the game. Next up is Brassius, the artist from Artazon. I first gave him Fruital, which is a little doodler mammal introduced in Paldea. I next give him the inspiration for his most famous work, Surrendering Sunflora, with, obviously, Sunflora. And finally, we can't have an artist without Smeargle. It does have what looks like really powerful moves, but you have to remember, it has a base stat total of 275. Next up is a streamer from Levincia, Iono. This one was a bit hard to figure out, but mainly because most of the Pokemon I thought would fit her are already electric type, so I tried to keep this not as much electric type, but it's still 3/4 electric. She leads off with Porygon, the quintessential digital Pokemon, seeing how it was entirely made within a lab. I really wanted to give her Magneton, but it evolves at level 38. It really matches her hairpin things. I just picked the next best option, Bellivolt, which I basically just copied the moveset from her original team because she already uses one. Another digital Pokemon I decided to give her was Rotom. It wasn't originally made in a computer like Porygon, but it can inhabit multiple different devices. It's in your phones, it's in a drone, it's in a PC, it's in a bike, not to mention the other standard 5 Battle Rotom forms. I'm just giving her the base one because maybe you could like change in future rematches. The Pokemon I decided to give to her as her ace was Morpeko, because whenever I think streamers, I think intense emotional swings. Now for Kofu, the chef from Casscaraffa. The original game does something weird here. Iono has 4 Pokemon in the original game, but then Kofu and Larry only have 3, so I decided to bump it up to 4 for them. Since Kofu's the chef, I decided that he obviously needs Knacklesack to season his fish and other stuff he cooks. It does specifically say that he is, in fact, a seafood chef. And now for Karkle, to actually cook the food he catches. Unless you want sushi for whatever reason. Why would you want sushi? I then gave him Veluza, because he always is mentioning vaulting Veluzas, and it has a signature move called Fillet Away. I decided to keep his original ace of Crabominable because people do eat crabs. I didn't change it much from the original team. Next up is Larry of Medali, and this one sure was interesting. According to Bulbapedia, his official job, other than being a gym leader and Elite Four member, is businessman or salaryman. It took me so long to figure out how to build a team around that. I eventually decided on a team based around stuff he would need to get through a workday and just general life. He starts off with Revavroom to be able to drive to work. I then gave him Poltegeist because there's no coffee Pokemon, and I feel like he really needs coffee to be able to stay awake. Just look at the bags under his eyes. I then gave him a Persian to be able to make it through the day once he gets home. And finally, his ace is Altaria to be able to sleep. Just look at its body, it's so fluffy. I would love to sleep on one like a pillow. Next up is Ryme, the rapper from Montanevera. Politoed, a notable learner of the move Perish song, and has multiple cards and Pokedex entries talking about how it leads around the rest of its evolutionary line in a march. Next up is Kricketune, a sadly weak Pokemon, and it's also based on classical music, but the only other really song or sound-based Pokemon I could find was Squawkabilly, and I think that Ryme would like classical music more than he would like rockabillies. Next up is Toxtricity, who was on her original team for the obvious reason that it is a punk rock Pokemon. In fact, that's the name of its signature ability. And finally, we have Noivern, a Pokemon with speakers for ears to help her blast out her music. Next up is Tulip, the makeup artist from Alfornada. First up, she has Sarina. Its pre-evolutions are said to have a really sweet scent, and so I don't think it would go away upon evolution, and I think it would make a perfect perfume. I don't know, I know nothing about perfume, or makeup, or fashion in general. This was really hard. Next up, she has Brassius, and just look at it. It looks like it's just covered in makeup. It may be clown makeup, but it's still makeup. Next up, we have Levincia, whose Pokedex entries say that it is a fashionista and creates outfits for other Pokemon out of leaves. And finally, her ace is a Spastra. It is on her original team, and look at it. Look at it. Don't tell me that this Pokemon was not made with Tulip in mind. And finally, we have Grusha, the pro snowboarder from an area that has no name. There is only one really snowboarding Pokemon, and it's a surfing Pokemon. Well, there's Alolan Raichu, I guess, but you can only get that through transfer or that one event. But Goldango would be way too strong to give to him, and I don't want to build his entire team just off of those two Pokemon. His Bulbapedia character overview says that he retains his determined side, being intrigued by the player's skill, despite sustaining an injury causing him to have to stop partaking in snowboarding. With that in mind, I decided to make his Pokemon Gym theme Pokemon with only one weakness. He leads off with Overqwil, whose Poison and Dark typing makes it only weak to ground. He then sends out Hisuian Zoroark, whose Illusion ability makes it look like the last Pokemon in the team. And his Normal and Ghost typing makes him only weak to Dark. He then sends out Scizor, whose Bug and Steel typing makes it only weak to Fire, albeit a 4-times weakness. And finally, he sends out his ace, a Spiritomb Terrid Ice. Its Ghost and Dark typing makes it only weak to Fairy, but there's no real advantage to terrestrializing to Ice. I just wanted to keep the theme of them keeping their original Terra typing. And there you go. I've given a theme to every single Paldean gym leader. And so, before you go, please like and subscribe, and I will now show all of the teams.